All right, folks, we are live. Welcome to the Giant Insider Podcast, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook on the Believe Network. My name's Jerry Foley. I am the senior editor of the Giant Insider newspaper, and with me, as always, is the beat writer, the heart of Giants Nation. Nobody beats the biz. Chris Bizignano. Busy time for the New York Football Giants, man. As John Harbaugh rounds out his staff, he's starting to hires Denard Wilson. Monken, who I think everybody thought would eventually become his OC, is now the coach of the Browns. So a little intrigue there. It's going to be interesting to see who he brings in. But, John Harbaugh, I said this to you before, Chris. I've said it said on the podcast. For me, at least, from a fan's perspective, it's a little different watching Harbaugh do this, right? And I say that because this isn't a first-time coach. I kind of joke that, Harbaugh doesn't need my help with who he's going to bring in. Now, that doesn't mean I won't have an opinion on it. But at the same time, I'm not, he lost Todd Monken to the Browns. I'm not nuclear. I trust that he'll, bring in someone who's capable. And I think you said before we went on, he's going to be very deliberate about it. So listen, man, busy time for the Giants. We're in the midst of the playoffs, but it just doesn't end for us, baby, as far as John Harbaugh rounding out his staff.
Yeah. Obviously a defensive coordinator. He brings in Denard Wilson from the Titans, which I saw a lot of panic with Giants fan. Not another Tennessee coordinator,
Right.
especially a guy that blitzes less than Shane Bowen did. So, but Denard Wilson.
The biggest difference though is press man.
Well, yeah, sometimes I was watching this 22 tape, but listen, you got to remember something. Denard Wilson last season did not have much talent on that side of the ball. So, besides Jeffrey Simmons, there wasn't much going on there. Yeah. But you kind of look, you finished his 21st in total defense yards per game, 15th against the rush, with not a very talented roster. So that's always a plus.
Yeah.
Donald Wilson's a guy that was in the running a couple of years ago with Brian Dable. Dable went in another direction and all that stuff. But I have to be honest with you, dude. I have to be honest with you. I wish that this Titan, the Browns situation was resolved last week, because I like Jim Schwartz, and I'd be curious if Schwartz was available.
Yeah.
If the Brown, the whole Monken, Schwartz, if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, Schwartz is pissed that he didn't get the head coaching job in Cleveland. And he basically wants out, and he's not going back to the Browns. Right. So he would have been available probably. However that worked out, but I would have liked to see Schwartz here, to be honest with you. I wish that would have worked out sooner, but it didn't. It worked out, yet today, whatever the hell happened with the Browns and Monken and all that stuff. So, but Denard Wilson's this guy, offensive coordinator. He's going to be interviewing a bunch of guys, and Davis Webb, an old Giant backup, is going to be one of them. Davis Webb's a guy I said about a month ago is going to be on Shane's radar for getting an interview as a head coach. This is way before Harbaugh became available and some other guys and all that stuff. But now he might be interviewed. From what I understand, they requested an interview for him to get interviewed for the offensive coordinator job.
Yep.
A lot of people including Sean Payton, love the job that Davis Webb has done with Bo Nix. So that'll be an interesting one. So there was going to be, a bunch of them. Charlie Weiss Jr. is a name I've heard pop up. We'll see if that's a possibility. Now, Charlie Weiss Jr. Is with Lane Kiffin. Went over with him in LSU. But I can tell you this, and Charlie Weiss has been, his kid. I'm pretty sure if John Harbaugh wants him as his OC with Jackson, that Charlie Weiss Jr. would probably take the job. Okay, where other teams, he might not take the job. He's a pretty loyal kid, Charlie's kid. He's been loyal to Lane Kiffin. Lane's been pretty loyal to him.
Yeah.
But this is a different animal. This is the Giants. We all know his dad was a coach here with the Giants, Super Bowl teams. So there's deep ties here, with the Giants and the organization. So now, is that a risk? A college OC coming to the NFL? Yeah. But from what I understand, I think John does like Weiss Jr., but we'll have to see. we'll have to see. But that is a name to look out for too, with some other guys. So we'll see how it works out. And like you said, Jerry, I think John Harbaugh deserves the benefit of the doubt. Whoever he brings in here, he's that type of credential, right? So
yeah,
we'll see how it all goes. His offensive line coach, who we kind of wanted, he went on with Todd Monken in Cleveland. So John's gonna have to fill that slot too. We all know that Carmen Priscillo will not be back next season. I know a lot of people feel. I think a lot of people heard. I think I reported the other day saying, "Well, it was just as much as Calm kind of wanted to go his own direction too. It wasn't horrible saying you're out of here. That's not what happened."
Yeah.
So, but these things happen with new coaches, right?
Yep.
They bring in their own people. They whack up a lot of other guys, and that's what's going on. So, John's not going to rush into this offensive coordinator thing. He will interview a bunch of people, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, good stuff, dude. And based on what Weiss's father said about Jackson Dart, I trust his son's judgment as well. I mean, he was on the Manjacast talking about, come on, he's talking about Jackson Dart pretty much before anyone else was. I mean, as far as like how good he was, right? So he was singing his praises. But folks, our special guest is backstage. He has promoted us on WFAN for the better part of the last 6 to 8 years. He's a friend of the show. We finally are getting him on. He is the polar opposite of my fandom. He is Jets, Mets, Islanders, Nets. He's a good man, even despite his rooting interests. And again, he's been talking about us on FAN for a long time. He's had Chris on. He's had me on. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the great Evan Roberts at WFAN. What's up, Evan?
I'm a loser. That's what you just described. I root for losers. And you're right. I do. You're right.
Hey, Evan. First of all, I'm going to tell you this, but I think you know this about me, man. But I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. I think you kind of know it from the podcast.
Yeah.
So my hope to you, I'm going to give you some hope because I'm way older than you, buddy, and I know how frustrating it is with the Mets and all that stuff. Hey, bud, after 1986, I know you were a little young for that, right? So, but I never thought the Sox would win a World Series, buddy, ever. I believed in the curses, the jinx, and all that stuff. I said, that's it. The Bay will never see, and they wound up winning 4. So, okay, buddy, there's hope for you. There's hope for you.
Here's what you're missing. That's one team. You can look
we'll
at
get into the football.
All of my teams. They're all losers. They've all won nothing. And I'm convinced none of them are going to win. I actually have the most confidence in the Mets just based on ownership and the organization. But, I mean, the Brooklyn Nets built a super team, still couldn't win. The Jets bring in Aaron Rodgers. They can't even make the playoffs. So, yeah, it's sad. I'm listening to you guys talk about your first world problems. It's interesting. Who are the Giants going to hire as their offensive coordinator? Meanwhile, the Jets wait until late January to demote their offensive coordinator, fire him, and then you look at who they're selecting from, including a Hail Mary at John Gruden. The Jets are a disaster. So I respect your first world problems that you guys are going through.
Evan, would you I'll ask you a Jets question right off the bat. Would you have moved on from Aaron Glenn yet?
I'll tell you why the answer is no. And okay. I know I'm in the minority on this. While I have
most Jets fans would, but yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. And I heard from all of them. But my point was, because see, they fantasized. They thought, John Harbaugh is available. We should get rid of Aaron Glenn. John Harbaugh was never taking the Jet job. Nobody was taking the Jet job. The best and the brightest weren't. And when you look at what happened in Cleveland, and look, it's not just that they're the Browns. They're asking for written tests. They're saying Jim Schwartz better be your DC. Like, I get there were a lot of elements to the Cleveland job that made it unappealing. But could you imagine if the Jets had to search for their job? I think it would have been the least unappealing job in the world. And so my thought is, let's give Aaron Glenn a second year. If it fails, which it probably will, they may be better positioned to be attractive to a coach next year, because what if they get the number 1 pick? What if Darren Muji hits a little bit on the draft where there's more talent while they still stink? So I was more on keeping Aaron Glenn, not because I think he's the answer, but because I think their situation would be made worse by looking for another head coach.
That's fair.
Folks, we have Evan Roberts of the Evan and Tiki Morning Show, 10 to 2 on WFAN. And Evan, man, I always respected your shit, man, for years.
Thank you.
I call you a meat and potatoes guy. And this is what I mean by that. Most people in our business cover the Giants, football. they're outliers. Oh, they can name 2 or 3 stars. Oh, yeah, they act like, oh, yeah, this guy. But you're a meat and potato guy, bro. You know sports, man. You know the rosters, especially baseball. You really impressed me with baseball, bud. All right. And you know what the hell's going on, man. Which I always admired about you, man. You do your work, man. You really do. And that includes all teams. I know you're a Jets fan, but you know the freaking Giants. You know what I mean? You cover them being in the area. So, but I have to ask you, Evan, first off, you mentioned this podcast a lot. I've heard you say it a few times. And if I didn't hear you say it live, Jerry will get a text from people. I'll get a text. Hey, yo, Evan just mentioned you guys. Boom, boom, boom. So I got to ask you, Evan, first off, thank you for mentioning us a lot.
No problem.
That were one of your favorite podcasts. And why?
I thought he said favorite. Chris, I thought he said favorite. I thought he said favorite again.
Did he say favorite? Okay.
I don't
know.
I'm in a tricky spot now. You can't be my favorite because I work with a guy who owns 2 giant podcasts.
Right.
I will tell you.
I have to ask you, why are we one of your favorites?
I'm going to tell you the origin story. So, especially in my days working with Joe, because that's really where it started. So, Beningo and I root for similar teams, and it's fun, but there's also a negative, right? Because we're both Met fans, we're both Jet fans. Obviously, the basketball and the hockey was separate. So, what I started doing, like in the mid 2015, 2016, somewhere around there, is I started realizing I need to get in the brain of the Giant fan. I need to get in the brain of the Yankee fan, specifically those 2 teams. And so I was always looking for like podcasts because I want to get inside your brain, because especially on a radio show in which there isn't someone representing that fandom. And so I'll give you another shout out. I started listening. I always say this. I said this to John Boy early on. I said, I started listening to Talking Yankees before anybody who knew who the hell you guys were.
I remember.
And I'd say the same with
him.
Yeah, right. And I'd say the same with you 2. So you guys and them with the Talking Yankees, I thought were the best. Like, it was like, okay, these are real fans. These are real diehard fans. And I think the only way to speak to real diehard fans is to understand what they're thinking. What I always try to do as a talk show host, and I am not perfect at it, is put myself in your shoes. So when I give an opinion on the Giants, I try to be a Giant fan. I know I'm not a Giant fan. I know I didn't experience how many freaking Super Bowls you guys have experienced, depending on your ages. I get it. But I still do it to this day. I think it's important. And while I watch all the games, I also like to just be there with the fans to help me get a better perspective on the way people are thinking. And that's why I listen to more. I listen to Jet podcasts, don't get me wrong, but I actually listen to more Giants and Yankees podcasts than I will the teams I root for. And that was the origin. So you guys were like, I'm trying to remember the year I started listening, but it was a while ago. It was definitely with Joe. So it was prior to 2020. And it was very helpful, to be honest with you. So thank you guys for that. I appreciate it.
We're glad to help, Evan. I really appreciate it.
So Evan, I want to discuss something you said on the radio a couple of days ago. I just wanted to bring this up. Sam Darnold with Seattle.
Yeah.
He's basically what is going to stop the Patriots from winning another one. Now, do you think that's worse than what we went through last year?
With Saquon?
Yeah.
It's not worse because I have no issue with the Seattle Seahawks. So I don't have an issue with them. And it was, I always loved Sam. I don't know how you guys felt about Saquon. I think it was always like mixed feelings towards Saquon. Everybody had. It's certainly the ending of do you pay him and all that. I always liked Sam. Like most quarterbacks that the Jets draft, I don't like. And I realized they suck very early on. And I'm ready to move on from them. Like Zach Wilson, I was ready to disown him very early on. I liked Sam. I liked him out of college, my novice college eyes, because I am not a diehard college football fan. I scoop in and watch when a player may be drafted by my team or your team.
Yep.
So I liked Sam. I believed in Sam. I understood why they moved on from him. I knew that he wasn't going to get another administration, but I believed in him. And so, number one, I like him. I think that's number one. Number two, he went to so many different teams. You know, you go to Carolina and you fail. You sit in San Francisco for a year. You go to Minnesota and have success until the very end. So I think I'm so far removed from his time with the Jets. He was with so many different teams. He's not with a team I dislike. And I said this on the air, and I mean it. I was rooting for Sam, except in the back of my mind, I knew there would be people who would LOL the Jets. And we get LOL'd enough. So I guess a part of me was like, it's easier on my life if Sam Darnold isn't in the Super Bowl. But I like Sam, and I think it's very different in a lot of ways from the Saquon stuff and even the Daniel Jones stuff, because it was so right there for you. It was recent. This was not recent. Sam was gone a long time ago, and he's been gone a long time.
Yeah, the reason I ask is I know you guys brought it up, and
Yes.
I just, for me, it was if Saquon went to any other team, I would have had no problem rooting for him last year. I didn't care. I mean, other than Dallas, but for the most part, any other team, it's like, yeah, go win it. But when he did it with the Eagles, it was more painful. Chris and I were pretty consistent. We kind of, I think, I don't speak for Chris, but we felt like he's already on the team. Let's keep him, right? But we also felt like, well, if we get rid of him, then, it's not like they're no longer a Super Bowl contender. They weren't going to be anyway. But I just wanted to get your perspective on that, because Sam Darnold, for Jets fans now, is the one thing stopping the Patriots from winning the 7th. That's very, at least, interesting, to say the least.
And that's more important than anything, because we hate the Patriots. Like, we can't live in a world in which Mike Vrabel, who we wanted a year ago, I never thought he was going to take the job, but we were at least hoping for it, that Mike Vrabel and then Drake May, who they basically got that pick because we win a meaningless freaking game that, of course, I was a sucker rooting for my team to win in because I'm a fan. Like, I think when you throw all those elements in, plus it is Boston, it's the Patriots again.
Sure.
By any means necessary. As Sam Darnold could break every Super Bowl record in the book. Stop the New England Patriots, please.
Right.
Evan, is that the feedback you're getting from your callers, that they'd rather have Sam win than the Patriots?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean,
Right?
There's always outliers. I always say I can't speak for every fan because all fans have very different opinions and voices. But I think most Jet fans are more mad at the organization and their handling of Sam many years ago, the hiring of Adam Gase, things like that, than any bitterness towards him now. And the Patriots are our biggest evil, and they need to be stopped. And hopefully a week from Sunday, they'll be stopped.
Yeah. All right, Evan, let's get to the Giants. You were there last week. I saw you. I spoke to you for a few minutes at the John Harbaugh presser. What did you think about the presser? What did you think about John? Obviously, he had an impression. I think he impresses everybody. And what do you think about the Giants? Obviously the hire of Harbaugh and where they go from here.
Well, I'll tell you this real quick. The opposite of what I used to deal with of working with Jet fans is I work with Tiki Barber and a guy who hosts 15 different Giant podcasts.
Right.
And that allows me, I think, to be able to root against your team.
Evan, none of which are your favorite, by the way. None of which are your favorite.
No comment.
Sorry, Marash. Tell
Marash, he's got a problem with that. Come and see me.
Come on.
Anyway. So I've been like, man, I don't mind when the Giants lose now. I don't mind seeing Tiki Barber get upset. I don't mind Sean being upset. And over the last couple of years, rightfully so, there's been a lot of negativity, and I've joined in on it.
Yeah.
But you can't be negative here. You're just being a hater. This is the dream hire. This is the perfect hire. This is the guy that Giant fans and myself as a Jet fan have been dreaming about for years. And so I thought being there last week, it was everything that you should expect as a Giant fan, everything that should pump you up. He said all the right things. He hit all the right notes. It was a great, great day. Now, the hard part is winning. We all understand that. But I think most Giant fans, and certainly me as an IFO, as I like to call myself, an independent football observer, knows that you're in great hands. And even if it doesn't lead to a Super Bowl right away, it's not the Patriots or even what Chicago did this past year where you're deep into the NFL playoffs, you're in competent hands. And for the last decade, since the end of Tom Coughlin, we didn't know. We'd go into every year being like, is Ben McAdoo the guy? Oh, wait, I think he is. Oh, wait, no, he's not. Right. Can Pat Shurmur we've done it over and over again. And now we know you have the guy. And, I heard you guys talking about coordinators, and it's so true. I was busting on the guys earlier today. I said, they could hire me to be the OC. And your response, rightfully so, will be, I trust John Harbaugh.
Yeah, totally.
And you should feel that way. So I think this is a great time to be a Giant fan. I'm not saying you're going to win a Super Bowl. Who knows? But you're competent, and that's a huge step in the right direction.
Evan, it's funny because on the last podcast, we'll talk about the John Harbaugh presser. And a lot of people ask me, hey, Chris, he knocked it out of the park and all that stuff. Like, man, he fires you up. I had a couple of former Giants sitting in front of me, Richie Seibert, and got it. Man, I run through a wall. I feel like putting the pads on right now, and that's all great. But like I said in the last podcast, Evan, I've seen this before. I remember when Joe Judge had his presser, and he's talking about, we're going to dominate. We're going to do that. Everybody's getting a little excited. But the difference this time, Evan, as you know, is that this guy's got a resume. Yeah. This guy has been to the playoffs 13 of the last 18 years, won a Super Bowl, beat his brother. That's the difference, brother. He's in there and he's knocking it out of the park. We're going to dominate. and all that stuff. Yeah, that's great stuff. But this guy has done it.
That's it. That's honestly,
difference.
he didn't even have to knock it out of the park.
Evan, I said to Jeffy last week, I said he could have went up there and said, "Hi, I'm John Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Take care. I'll see you in the spring, everybody." And everybody's like, "Oh, that's the best thing ever." You know what I mean?
Yeah, truth be told, I was the one. I was like, Chris, how great was that? You're like, yeah, but it's his resume, Jerry. It's his resume. So he was calming me down, Evan, to be honest with you. So yeah.
It's so true. It's so true because the one thing I've learned over the years is to not get excited about press conferences. And yet here I was a year ago with Aaron Glenn being like, oh, this guy's amazing. He's a Jet. He still thinks about Denver. He's dropping F-bombs. This guy's amazing. And it was amazing, but the reality is you got to coach. And just because you have a good press conference like Joe Judge did, or a bad press conference like Nick Sirianni did, it's about doing the job. And so the truth is John Harbaugh could have done nothing. He could have just, like you said, he didn't have to say a word. He could have gone up there and said, I'm John Harbaugh, dropped the mic and left. And the confidence would have been fair to have in him because he's got the resume. Competence is back. That's the way I would look at it.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. We're saying professionalism is back in the Meadowlands. All right, so you're picking second, right? Jets are picking second in a draft with really one right now, at least, before they rise and fall like they do every single year. There will be quarterbacks that rise to the top 10, but it looks like one quarterback, right? So question is, Evan, someone like Jackson Dart, like I want to get your perspective on him. If what is your take on him? And would you sign up for that type of a pick for if one of these other quarterbacks turns out to be like Dart, would you be ecstatic or?
Are you serious?
No, but I'm saying it like,
would I be ecstatic?
No, the reason I ask is sometimes Giant fans like me go over the moon for guys. And I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't name 10 quarterbacks I'd rather have than Jackson Dart right now. Right. So I know that's might be a little crazy, but my question is your thoughts on Dart. Would you like someone like that? And like, are Giant fans a little too over the moon about him? Like, I want to get your objective perspective on it.
I think that, like that comment you just made, is it over the moon? I mean, yes and no, because obviously he's not proven yet to be a top 10 quarterback in the league, but I totally understand saying he's my guy.
Right.
And I want to risk that he's going to have a better career than Dak Prescott, who I think gets disrespected way too much. He's had a very nice, solid NFL career. I know he hasn't won anything yet, but
he's a good quarterback.
But he's a good quarterback. And
he's a good freaking quarterback.
I played this game on the air, and I saved this audio because I always like to go back to things. I said, would you sign for Dak Prescott's career as a Giant fan with Jackson Dart? And of course, both Morash and Kiki said, no, of course I wouldn't. I said, okay, I'm going to save that audio because that's a damn good career. But I understand as a Giant fan saying, I'm taking my guy over that guy because he doesn't make any money yet, and B, he's my guy. So I don't think it's crazy to say there aren't many guys you would take over him because he's your guy and you want to see it through. I would be through the moon if I had a quarterback prospect who then performed, even if it wasn't perfect, even if I didn't win a lot of games, which obviously you guys didn't do until it didn't matter at the end of the season. And I resent you for that because if you had the number 1 overall pick, we'd be making a deal.
Oh,
I know it.
Deal.
You know it.
Without question.
Oh, my God.
Without question.
And that pisses me off because I like Fernando Mendoza. I wanted Fernando Mendoza. That would excite me. So, if the Jets can somehow, and I don't know if that guy is available. I don't know if that guy exists because it does feel like a one quarterback draft with the rest of it being just projects. Like, I mean, the guy I like the most is Trinidad Chambliss. The guy's freaking suing to not be a Jet. That's the way I look at it. I know he's suing to, the NCAA, the eligibility. No. He's suing because he doesn't want to be a Jet. That's how I take it.
Boy, is that a Jet fan statement right there, huh?
Oh, God. Sorry.
I mean, am I wrong? No. He's basically saying, I so don't want to be a Jet. I'm going to sue you to go back to school. But if it was Trinidad Chambliss, who the Jets took either with the Indy pick in the first round or they traded back into wherever. And then I saw him play 5-6 games because he shouldn't start right away and had promise like Jackson Dart, I'd feel very different about the organization. I think that's kind of the depressing part that I don't think that's going to happen, that this does feel like a one quarterback draft. And
right now
it's tough to ever be optimistic about the future of your franchise when you're naked at the most important position.
Yes.
So I got to ask you, Evan, who is the Jets quarterback September 2026?
Let me clarify.
Quarterback? Who's lining up under center?
The question is, are you asking me who I want or who
both.
I think they'll end up with?
How about both?
All right, you know what? Give me who you want. and
Yeah.
give me who you think.
Oh, I think it'll end up being like Teddy Bridgewater or Marcus Mariota or something non-inspiring. Like it'll be a stopgap veteran with someone that they draft. And I'm not sure, is it Ty Simpson? Maybe. I don't even know who it is, but some kind of quarterback prospect that we're going to know deep down ain't the freaking answer. I'm drawn in by Malik Willis. I'm drawn in by a guy who's still very young and has not been given the full opportunity. There's a difference between Malik Willis and Justin Fields. Justin Fields was a lottery ticket who had failed. Malik Willis has not failed. He hasn't really been given the opportunity. And it's going to cost a lot, and that's the risk. But the Jets have a ton of cap space, and hopefully they're going to put together a competent offensive coaching staff in which, apparently, according to Aaron Glenn, they're going to hire a head coach of the offense. That's the way they're viewing it. And I would really take the kind of the risk that maybe I got something with Malik Willis. Maybe I don't end up having to draft a quarterback. Maybe Willis puts it all together. This is the Jets have the skeleton of a good offense. They have an offensive line that plays. They have a solid O-line. If they keep Breece Hall, the running backs room is fine. They got a number one wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. Like, they're not that far off. So if it was up to me, I'm drawn in by Malik Willis, though I know the price tag is going to be high.
How about a guy like Kirk Cousins or like a Kyler Murray?
Why? Why? For what? Where's that getting me? What is that doing? What am I winning 5 games so I don't pick number one? Like, what is Kirk Cousins? Kyle Murray's a little bit different. What the hell does Kirk Cousins do for me?
He's going to last 8 games, and then he's going to wear out. That's what he's going to do.
Okay, so it's just
he's going to make you go 6-2, and then that's
you
it.
need that 1 year stopgap.
5
Yeah, but
bridge.
4 and 4.
Here's the thing. What is he bridging me towards if I don't have a quarterback? So you're just making ideas up to make us suffer. Is that your plan now?
In fairness to Chris, that's been talked about.
Cousins could play football still. I'm just curious on what
To do what? To bridge me where? Tell me where it's going. We'll have a nice conversation.
Well,
you won't even know. So then why are you telling me this?
Well, you don't need maybe a 1 year veteran bridge?
Okay, and I'm going to ask you again nicely. Bridging me to who?
Until your next quarterback. What if you draft one?
But you want to. So your point is you want to suck again.
2027 could be a pretty big quarterback class coming out, pretty low.
So then why don't I just start Brady Cook and go 2-15 as opposed to Kirk Cousins?
So that's the next question.
That's not the way it works.
No, but that's the next question, though. I get it. That's the next question. Would you sign up now for 1-16? Like just another fall and winter of just suffering, Evan? Would you?
I don't want that, but it really depends on. Of course, I don't want that. I'm a freaking Jets season ticket holder. I got my 5-year-old wanting to go to games. I want to win.
Yeah, you don't want that.
I don't want that, but I also don't want purgatory. Your plan is purgatory. My plan wasn't purgatory. My plan was Malik Willis is my freaking answer. And with the right opportunity and with the right coaching and in this offense, that's it. And I go and I start winning and I start developing. I don't think that's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then then I am better off with a horrible 2-win season. Look what happened this year. And dude, I can't get over this. I started taking my youngest son Spence to Jets games, and he loved it. Just had the time of his life. And he was screaming and yelling when we beat Atlanta. Oh, this is great. Game-winning field goal. So exciting. Yeah, it cost us Fernando Mendoza.
But you can't look at it like that.
Well, I look at it now that way. I didn't look at it that way then, like during the season, bro. I want to win.
Here's the thing, and I'm trying to give you some hope here. You could say the Colts game cost the Giants Cam Ward, but we got Jackson Dart later.
Okay.
Right?
When's that going to – when I get Jackson Dart, then we can say, hey, you were right. Until that happens, it's hell. So, look, it's a tough answer. I don't want to go into a football season and root for them to lose. I'm going to make that very clear. And I also don't do it in October and November, just like I didn't do it in the game against Atlanta. But with big picture, when you say Kirk Cousins, all I think of is, well, you're putting me in the middle. You're giving me just enough wins to not suck enough, but no future. And that does not appeal to me in late January. Like, you got to give me a plan that leads to something good or something really, really bad that gets me a top pick, not hey, Kirk Cousins played well for 7 weeks. You guys won 5 games, and you're not picking high enough to get your dream franchise quarterback. That sounds like the worst possible situation. You're a Jets hater. You're a hater.
No, I'm not. No, Evan. Listen, I'm not.
Sounds that way.
You'll have enough draft capital to move up in the 2027 draft if need be.
Kind of. Like, Okay, so here's where I'll push back on this. Do the Jets have enough draft capital right now to trade up with the Raiders for Fernando Mendoza?
No.
But they do. They just
They
don't
do,
have a
but
they're
they're
not
not going to
interested.
pass on Mendoza. Yeah, the Jets. It's just like what
That's
happened to
my
Giants last
point.
year.
But bro, that's my point. So next year, under your horrible plan of Kirk Cousins,
Your
why-
horrible
it's a
plan.
horrible plan. Oh, it's a horrible plan. You want to kill me as a Jet fan. So
I don't want to kill. I'm trying to help you, my friend.
But then you say, I'm sorry, maybe Jerry said it, but one of you says, "Oh, you have enough draft capital." If the team wants to draft a quarterback, I could have oodles of draft capital. It's not making a difference.
Well, to your point, like the Giants, when they drafted Malik Neighbors, they could, even if they had 3 first-rounders, they weren't getting Drake May,
Bingo.
Jaden Daniels, or Caleb. I get it. I get your point. Real quick, before we go on, I got to point out a couple super chats here, guys. From Analysis 1957, Harbaugh's here to tear down the walls in the Giants locker room that are embedded with losing. Time to build the walls that are structured to win. Oh, that is inspiring, baby. And then one more, our boy John Toronto, who is on every podcast. Good evening, everyone. Thank God for Jerry and Chris. It's a long off season. Not this year, John. This is a great off season, buddy. But thank you very much for the contribution. Really appreciate it. So Chris, totally mocking. No, he's not. He's not mocking.
I would not do that to Evan.
Thank you.
I would not do that to Evan. No. I would not do that. I was getting his opinion. Like, what about a guy like Cousins? That's why he went nuts on that. You know what I mean? So,
lot of love.
Listen,
a lot of love from Giant fans here.
A lot of love from Giant fans for Evan, as it should be, because Evan says it like it is with the Giants on his radio station.
I tried.
On his radio show. He's not a Giants hater. He doesn't want the Giants to win. I get that, but he's not a guy that's out there ripping the Giants and talking like some other radio host I'm not going to get into. Just throw out stuff about the Giants that are nowhere near reality. So, Evan, let's shift back to the Giants for a second. Were you surprised Joe Shane was retained?
I kind of was, because I thought when they fired Dable, and I read that letter like 15 times, the statement, I kept going back to Joe Shane can't survive if they just end miserably. Like, if it's proven, hey, we made a coaching change and it really was a coaching problem, and now we're starting to win these close games and we're winning games, yada-da, I think it would help. Hey, Joe Shane actually built a good enough roster. The way they kept losing games horribly, and then the way it got even worse towards the end, I didn't think he'd survive. I didn't think the last 2 wins mattered that much. But I think what we saw, and I can never prove this, but this is just me surmising, is that if a guy like John Harbaugh was saying, hey, I'm not working with Joe Shane, I have no interest in this guy, then I think they would have gotten rid of him. So I don't think they would have allowed Joe Shane to get in the middle of a coaching search. But I did think, especially in the middle of the season when things were getting even worse, that Joe would not survive it. But as we sit here today, most Giant fans wanted the guy gone. And now you can look at it completely differently. I mean, you could look at Joe Shane and say, actually, he didn't do that bad of a job. He did enough to entice John Harbaugh. And now, and I said this to Joe Shane, we had him on. I said, you're no longer going to be like the guy that Giant fans hate. They're not going to think about you as much anymore. Fair or not, good or bad.
No.
It's just like it's the John Harbaugh show, and he's less relevant now in the whole picture.
Yeah, look, especially when John and his press has said, hey, I like this roster. I like what Joe has built here and all that. Obviously, every GM is tied up to their franchise draft pick quarterback, and that was Jackson Dart. And look, Gettleman was tied to the hip with Daniel Jones. That didn't work, right?
Yep.
And Dave drafted some good players, man. I don't know, some of them aren't here anymore. But Joe went out and moved up and got Jackson Dart, And when John said that at the press, is saying, hey, I like what the roster he's built, I think a lot of Giants fans said, whoa, okay, well, hold on. You know what I mean? Harbaugh's saying it. Okay, maybe it's not that bad. Listen, it hasn't been perfect. We know that, Evan. But Joe is going to be here, and Joe and John are going to work together with this draft, with the scouting department. And if their vision is not the same after this draft, because you can't just blow up a scouting department now. These guys have been working on these college kids for months, Evan. You can't just blow up a scouting department 2 months before the draft, 3 months before the draft. Can't do it. But if the vision is not the same with John and his scouting department and John and Joe, because John Harbaugh has a knack for talent. Him, Eric DeCosta, and Ozzie worked like this in Baltimore. They had the same vision of what type of football play they wanted. If that's not, then we're going to have to see what happens with Joe. But right now, they're going to work together, and we'll see what happens, down the road.
And to Joe Shane's credit, there's been so much talk because of the clips we've seen that Brian Dable was the one who wanted Jackson Dart. And I've always defended Joe Shane for this. Even if that was the case, a good leader listens to the people that he works with.
Exactly
a good leader doesn't just say, well, that's not what I want to do. So I give him a lot of credit for the Jackson Dart signing or draft pick, I should say, because he didn't have to listen, right? So ultimately,
didn't have to.
That's what a good leader does. And if John Harbaugh is banging his hands on the table for someone, I don't even think, even if the power structure was different, Joe Shane was going to say, no, I'm taking this guy. So I think he's already proven he will listen to the people around him.
Oh, absolutely. He's done it a few times. Look, he wasn't that crazy about Tay Banks, but Wink Martindale banged the table for him.
That was going to be my next point.
He's my type of corner.
Press corner.
He's a press man. I want him. And Joe went with Deontay Banks. We know how that worked out. Jackson Dart, look, he liked Jackson Dart. Dable loved Jackson Dart. Joe went to Brian. He said to him, he says, this is your guy. We're going to take it. You want it. And Dable goes, this is who I want. Yeah. And Joe made the move. So like you said, it's not a dictatorship with Joe Shane, although some people like to portray it that. They're not even remotely close to the truth. Okay. That's for him and John.
But you know what? Together. The good goes with the bad. So he listened on Jackson Dart. He deserves credit. He listened on Tay Banks because of Wink. You deserve blame. I mean, it's your resume.
Absolutely.
And I think what was always the most difficult defense of Joe Shane is just the record. Like, I thought Joe Douglas drafted good players. I thought Joe Douglas had good drafts. And eventually I couldn't defend it anymore because the record is the record. And Joe Shane's win-loss record is atrocious. Now, luckily, he's got a new lease on life because John Harbaugh's here.
So, people are writing in about this. I don't know if this is true or not, but Chris is a huge Red Sox fan. I just want to ask this question. Please let Evan show his support for Alex Cora. Evan, are you an Alex Cora fan?
Alex Cora. Alex Cora called me out on MLB Network once. You aware of this?
No.
Well, Evan, before we go any further, I think you noticed I despise Alex Cora. But
oh, do you?
His tweets are. Oh my God!
Oh, you should see my.
I'm kidding. I know you despise him. I'm just joking.
So, hey, Evan. So tell us the story. No, I don't know the story. Why did he call you out?
So I was doing the middays at the time. I'm obviously back doing the middays, but I was doing it back then, and I was on MLB Network. I don't even know why. They asked me, come on, talk about baseball. It's the World Series, or it's the playoffs. And I was previewing a Red Sox playoff game, and I just went to town on David Price, that he's a loser who can't win a big game. And I said, look, I'm not trying to be mean. Look at the numbers. And at the time, he had failed in more big games than not. And that night, David Price went out, pitched a great game. It was fantastic. In the post-game press conference, Alex Cora says, I was watching MLB Network and there was this guy.
I didn't notice.
And he was saying, David Price can't pitch in a big game. How do you like him now? And I'm like, this ass. I'm like, you know what? If I could just talk to Alex, that was his track record. Good for him. I'm glad he pitched well. You always have a chance to change your track record, but I wasn't saying anything out of turn. I was describing his postseason failures.
So Rich says you motivated Alex Cora to the 2018 World Series win. Nice job.
I did. You're welcome for that.
You can thank Evan, Chris.
I appreciate you, Evan. Hey, Evan, I wish I was sitting there and Alex said something like that, and I would have freaking destroyed him for how many games he has blown for the Red Sox with his ridiculous managing.
You're being very unreasonable, and you know that because
no, Evan, I am not being unreasonable. He literally cost the Sox 8 to 10 games last year with his bullpen management.
Okay. Your team, first of all, he's won your World Series. All right. That's number one.
Okay.
Let's just get that out of the way. You have a championship. That's pretty cool. He was the manager to do it. And I'd also argue that this Red Sox team, the one that he blew so many games on, they weren't even that good. The fact that you were in the playoffs, the fact that you were right there with the Yankees, you should be thanking your lucky stars. And what a great offseason. Oh, my God. Let's let Alex Bregman walk away. I mean, they're run by fools, the Red Sox, honestly.
This is a great podcast. I feel like I just poured gasoline on this. This is all my job tonight.
There you go. Folks, we got Evan Roberts from WFAN. We're going to talk about it all here, okay? We're going to talk. First of all, Evan, they have a good team. I don't know why the hell you just said that.
Last year. Look, talking about this year or last year? Last year.
They were a good team.
Okay, they were fantastic. Lucky team to make the postseason.
They were a good team, Evan,
Okay.
last year. That buffoon blew numerous games with his managing. No, Evan, I watched them. Trust me what I'm telling you. If you don't believe me, just go on Red Sox social media sites.
Oh, I'm going to trust that. You got me. Red Sox fools on social media tell me Alex Cora sucks. You're right. I must listen to them. I apologize.
I'm telling you, listen to me. He's a buffoon. Okay? That's all I'm telling you. He blows numerous games.
Would you trade him for Carlos Mendoza? I think I'd make that trade.
No.
I'd do it right now. Oh, no. Okay. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, so I'm not a Mendoza guy.
All right.
Yeah. So, go
Evan,
ahead, Jerry.
here you go, Evan. From Rich Sabner. Evan, please talk about you and Joe B versus Manish Mehta on the Adam Gase hiring.
Oh, God. So I'm always open to giving people a chance. But Adam Gase was a hire that before they were even interviewing him, before they even brought his name up, I was disgusted by. Joe was disgusted by. And so the Adam Gase era was a tough one because never in my life with any hire I've been as against something. And then it happens. And usually I'm like, all right, let's hope for the best. And I was hoping for the best. But Gase was a disaster. And yeah, we had some wars with Manish Mehta. I guess that was before he did that weird thing with Joe Douglas's kid where he stalked him or something like that. It's bizarre. So yeah, Manish Mehta came on a bunch of times, and there was one time where I thought Joe was going to rip him through the phone.
Yeah, I remember that.
We had our battles back in the day.
Yeah, well, Manish Mehta, I don't think that you could find anybody that like that guy. I couldn't. I remember a few ex-players talking about him. Oh,
I'm sure.
Evan, just I want to make one comment on your baseball knowledge. Tusk says never underestimate Evan's ability to talk baseball at any point. I remember you were putting together a list of all your all-time pitchers, and you were throwing out like Christy Mathewson and Walter Johnson. And I'm like, oh my God, like this was before the Giant Insider podcast. And I'm like, oh, like you were I think it was like Pedro was on there, maybe Koufax. But when you threw out Walter Johnson and Christy Mathewson, I'm like, oh my God, this guy knows baseball, man. Is it fair to say like is that your meat and potatoes, your favorite sport?
It got me into sports.
Okay.
Like, I think that was my beginning because my dad had season tickets with the Mets. And so we grew up, me and my sister, at Shea Stadium.
Okay.
And we go to all the games. So what got me into sports was the Mets and baseball. And everything kind of followed that. But is it my favorite? It's probably my favorite sport just because it's my first, you know?
Sure.
But basketball, football soon followed. Hockey's always like when the Islanders are in the playoffs, I'll watch. I'm a front runner, the first one to admit that. I always think it's very difficult to be diehard on hockey and basketball because the sports are going on at the same time. Like, how do you watch every single game? I always find that to be challenging. But I also think this.
I think Chris does. I think Chris watches every game.
Of both hockey and basketball? That's impressive.
Mix and doubles.
No. Basketball, no. Hockey.
Okay.
I try.
There you go. There's always one that glides over the other.
I got to be honest with you, Evan. The NBA is losing me. It's just a 3-point shooting contest.
Better than ever. Disagree with you.
I know you do. I know you disagree.
Yeah, no, I get into fights with people about this because I think a lot of times, like football and baseball, I would agree. Okay, it was better in ways back in the day. I mean, we see the rule changes in the NFL, the protecting of quarterbacks. I like defense. I like hard-hitting football. I like running the ball. So I'll totally agree with that. Baseball, love the pitching, deep into games, all that. I thought the basketball of the 90s was boring. I really did. I thought it was just dull. And I think the game today is just more aesthetically pleasing. I agree sometimes there's too many threes. Like, I'm not going to tell you it's perfect. But if you gave me a game and this is a test I would give you. Did you like basketball in the mid-90s? Is that your point?
I was a basketball addict, buddy.
Okay. Go on YouTube.
80s and 90s. Go ahead.
Okay. Go on YouTube, watch a game from 1995, and then actually tell me it was entertaining. It wasn't. It doesn't hold up. I think the NBA is better today than it was 30 years ago, and I acknowledge that's a very unpopular opinion. I know it.
Yeah, well,
I get people fight with me all the time. It's the one sport that I actually think is better today than it was 30 years ago.
You see, Evan, I grew up 59, bro. I got you some years, but I grew up watching the big men going at it, hitting the boards.
I get you.
Guys posting up, the physicality, especially in the playoffs, man, the physicality. So to me, just watching guys coming down, going under the bucket, kicking it out, the launch of three with 20 under 24. It's just, to me, it's just like, what are we doing?
I get you.
And
skills off the charts, though, man. This is the big men who can shoot. It's
freaking
crazy.
The way big guys shoot today, Evan. I know. I get you, brother. It's insane. But I just can't look at games that are 135, 120. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, is there defense anymore in this damn sport? And then I watch it and I see guys launching threes. I'm like, I just can't. And it's tough for me, Evan, because I'm from
I get you. I get
All
it.
right.
Listen, it's whatever you like, man. Everybody has different opinions, man. That's
All right,
what
let's get back to the awesome offseason that the Giants are having and the weird offseason that the Jets are having. Evan, offensive coordinator. Do you have a preference for the Jets or what?
Oh, God. I mean, Frank Reich is a single to center field. That's the way I describe it. Like, it's a solid hire. He's got experience.
Yeah.
I mean, he's also got the experience of being like one of the only coaches who got fired midseason in back-to-back years. How often does that happen? But I also think that the Jets are in a spot where they're not going to get the best of the best. They're just not. And so I think Frank Reich, of the guys they've talked to, is the best hire. But I think it's a fine hire. But unfortunately, it's going to be a temporary hire because unless the Jets have success, I do think Woody's going to pull the plug after year 2. But I think of the realistic guys that are out there, that's how I would phrase it. I do think Frank Reich probably makes the most sense.
Evan, were you surprised how long it took Aaron to fire his coordinators, or you think Woody's behind this?
I think Aaron Glenn did it. Here's the one thing I think Woody's behind. I think Woody's the one who said, let's call John Gruden. Because I can't imagine Aaron Glenn has enough self-confidence to say, let me call the guy that sports talk radio callers bring up all the time to coach their team. Like the guy who's going to be breathing down my neck. Right. So I think Glenn evaluated, and he does deserve some credit for this. Like to basically admit everything you picked for year 1 was a mistake. That takes a lot of cojones. It really does. It takes a lot of guts. And it takes a lot of self-reflection. So I do, to a degree, respect it. But I also say, you picked all these guys. You know, I use the presidential analogy. Like a president comes in, they build their administration. It's their choices, obviously some approval of the Senate and all that. But if you're a president and you fire your Secretary of State and your Secretary of Defense, and you just get rid of your entire staff after 1 year, it's fair to say, did you know what you were doing? And so I say that to Aaron Glenn. Did you know what you were doing? And then the timing of it, like you guys mentioned, you're waiting until basically February. Like you're not going to get the best and the brightest. So
very, very weird.
It was weird, man, but not good.
Evan, do you feel Aaron's in over his head a little bit with this?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah. I don't know how you can't, which is, I know, a contradiction of what I said earlier about keeping him for a second year, but keeping him for a second year was more about the situation they'd be put in trying to find a coach more than it is in a belief in Aaron Glenn. And you guys tell me, you help me out with this. Has there ever been a coach with more against him who can actually turn it around and succeed in the history of New York sports? Like when a coach is this backed against the wall, have we ever seen any of them get out of it and then turn into a success? I had a tough time thinking of any.
The only one I'll say, it's not the same situation, but in 2006, fans were chanting fire Coughlin on Christmas Eve against the Saints.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying.
I get it, but it isn't the same because
no, it's not. But
we're in the playoffs.
That's the one I think of right now. Close.
You know, Evan, it's funny, man, because, you know, last year when I'm at Florham Park and we're at the Giants-Jets joint scrimmage, and I'm standing on the sideline and I'm watching the Jets offense against the Giants D, and I'm watching Justin Fields and I'm saying to myself, man, holy shit, like what the hell were the Jets seeing and giving this guy, we know his resume in Chicago, we know what he could do, what he can't do, and I'm watching him and he's missing guys right in front of me, Evan. Guys in the flat, running little flat routes. And I'm saying to myself, what the F were the Jets thinking, giving this guy 2 years, $40 million at 30 guaranteed? Like, what were they looking at? To me, Evan, it just spelled disaster from the get-go, man. I didn't quite get that move.
Not to blame it on anyone else, but I also ask you, what were the Steelers thinking? Because they wanted him back. Like all the reports were they wanted to, and they
wanted him back.
And they saw him. They would have more knowledge on him than we would, since they had him a year earlier. My attitude towards Justin Fields was he was a lottery ticket. He was the young player who, while he did cost a lot of money the way you described it, you also had a way to get out of this after a year.
Yeah, it was a one-year deal.
Yeah, so I didn't look at it as some crazy commitment, but it was a lottery ticket. The mistake I think they made, and it wasn't Jackson Dart, so I don't want to claim like, oh yeah, I was screaming for Jackson Dart. I was screaming for Shador, who I thought would be a good quarterback in this league. He was a Pro Bowler, but that's another story.
Yeah,
I-
Belichick's not in the Hall of Fame. We get it.
It makes sense of all that.
No.
I thought, hey, in the first round, they've got to be open to a quarterback. And my thought was, they don't have one. And just because they signed Justin Fields, we are going to have to draft one eventually. And so if one drops, which happened with Shador, or if they love Jackson Dart or Tyler Shuck, whoever they wanted, they were all there for them. And it bothered me a little bit that they were so committed to Justin Fields that they didn't even consider drafting a quarterback. And knowing that the odds were he's a lottery ticket. Lottery tickets usually fail.
Yeah.
You're also having a first-time offensive coordinator, play caller in Tanner Engstrand. You expected that he was going to be the one to unlock Justin Fields. So I didn't hate the signing. I thought it was a smart lottery ticket move. I just didn't like the fact that they weren't forward thinking about, hey, why don't we draft a quarterback too?
To Chris's point, I was at the joint practice at the Meadowlands, and all the Jet beat writers were saying he's a one-read guy. He just looks at one read. If you can't hit him, he takes off running. Were you surprised that Saleh was rehired as a head coach?
I was surprised it was that quick. I'm surprised that Robert Saleh, who basically had no success here, is a head coach, and Brian Daboll, who had some success here, he was coach of the year, is working for him. Like, I would have guessed Daboll would get more of an opportunity ahead of Robert Saleh, but hey, look, you go to San Francisco, you run a good defense, you jump up and down, it excites everybody. I got no ill will towards Robert Saleh. I was not impressed by him. He didn't really feel like a leader, but, good luck. He's got the young quarterback. He's got a really good offensive coordinator. He's set up to succeed. So maybe he will. Will it bother me if he does? Maybe a little bit, but I also realize that sometimes guys just do a better job in their second opportunity.
Evan, if it came down to a Jets Super Bowl or a Mets World Series title,
Good question.
Which one would Evan Roberts of WFAN choose?
I think right now, it's funny. Things evolve because someone asked me that question about 3 years ago during the height of the Kevin Durant era. And I said, it's a Nets championship. And they're like, really? Why is that? Do you like the Nets more than your other teams? I said, no, it's basically like they're all children to me. But they got a super team. They have to freaking win. Like, it will be a disaster if they don't. And clearly they didn't. And so I got a billionaire owner. I have a team president who knows what he's doing. I've got Juan Soto, the generational player. I got to win with these guys. Like, it is going to just be, it's going to sting more and more if I don't win a championship after we stole Soto from the Yankees, all that. The Jets are a billion miles away. And so the idea of even imagining the Jets winning a Super Bowl feels like very, very foreign. They are as far away. I mean, forget a Super Bowl. How about the playoffs? They haven't seen one since Obama's first administration, since I was like barely shaving. Like, it's been a long freaking time. And so I think the nature of where each team's at, who runs the teams, the Mets are the team. Like, they are the team I root for, that they got to win a championship because they actually have a semblance of hope in doing so. And the other teams I root for, Islanders excluded, it's hockey and it's also different. They don't have a chance. So I'd say it's the Mets right now.
Evan, is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer in your eyes?
He's a Hall of Famer, but he's very borderline. Now, what I always say about that is it doesn't matter if someone's borderline. Are they a Hall of Famer? Yes or no? And so the answer to your question is yes, but I understand why he's struggling to get in. And I hope that you guys also understand it.
I absolutely understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was never the best at his position. I don't know if he was ever top 5 at his position. And I'm not trying to put him down because those 2 Super Bowls, that gets him in. And quite frankly, if he didn't have those 2 Super Bowls, and I know you can't take him away, I don't even think we'd be having a discussion about this.
No, we wouldn't.
I do think it's enough to make him a Hall of Famer, but we can't act surprised or pissed off when he's struggling to get in. I think he's a borderline case who eventually will get his day.
Yeah, I think he will get in. I just think it's going to be 4, 5, or 6 years.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I never said he was first ballot. It's not a surprise to me he's not in. That he didn't get in. I know the word is not official, but obviously the leaks coming out of the Pro Football Writers is that, he's not in again. So I get it. I think he will get in, Evan. I do think he will get in with his body of work. Some of the years he had in the 2 Super Bowls, obviously that he will get it. And he's a Manning, and he will get in. In my opinion. So, but it's going to take a few years for Eli.
Agreed.
I agree. Tom Coughlin, I think, will be in too. down the road.
Yeah,
You know, I
absolutely.
think he will be in. Now, this whole Belichick stuff kind of pushes everybody back.
Yeah.
I think this whole Belichick thing is absolutely insane. But is it a surprise to some guys? Well, you know, he had Spygate and this and that. You know, I think that's bullshit, Evan. And don't compare it to steroids. I know some people have asked me, well, are you pissed off Barry Bonds done it? Oh, come on, let's not compare.
It's not
steroids.
the same.
It's not
But
the same.
I think I don't think it's Spygate. I think that these
They
guys
hate him that much.
I think it's two things. I think they hate him, like they just don't like him. And I also think the way the voting structure works, where you've got such a small number of people and you can only vote for 3, I think they're prioritizing other guys who may never get in more so than a guy like Bill, who's clearly going to get in. So I think that the structure of the voting and the system, I think, is hurting him, because I think there are people who are saying, or are going to say, if they ever get public about it, oh, no, I know Bill's a Hall of Famer and he's going to get in. Hence, he doesn't need my vote as much because he's going to get in a year or 2 from now, which is horrible reasoning, by the way. I'm not defending it,
bullshit.
But I think that's a part of it. If I had to figure out why 11, at least 11 people did that.
From what I understand, it's a little bit of the cheating stuff, you know, the allegation stuff and all that stuff that's going on. And they don't like him personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was obviously 10 guys, 11 guys, whatever it was, saying, hey, I'm not putting him in this year. Let him sit another year, which is ridiculous. But that's the way it works. We've seen it with baseball, right? We've seen it with baseball. I mean, look at Jeff Kent. He was despised by the media, right?
Yeah.
How long did it
was
take him to get in?
ridiculous. And he had to wait. He didn't even get on the regular ballot. He had to get to the next ballot. How about,
Right.
I always use this as an example with the first ballot stuff, because I think it is overrated. Once you're in the Hall of Fame, it doesn't matter. No one's quoting it always first ballot. Joe DiMaggio is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. He just wasn't. And if Joe D isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, what are we doing? And so I think that's a reminder that the first ballot nature, it doesn't mean anything. It's just right now, we're all freaking out because it's like, oh my God, it's not happening now. It'll happen next year, and then we'll all forget about it. Trust me, I don't think Harry Carson thinks about how long he had to wait.
Yeah, he was years and years before he got in.
Well, Harry was bothered by it though.
But is he bothered by it now? Like that's my point. Yes, of course, during the process, it sucks. Yeah. But now no one says Harry Carson, Hall of Famer. Oh, but it took him 100 years. No, it's Harry Carson's a Hall of Famer. That's it.
No. One guy, you know, who I feel is being punished by it, by Harry being in and Lawrence being in, is Carl Banks.
Carl Banks, no doubt. No doubt about
it. And it bothers Carl. I know Carl sometimes will say no, but I know Carl. Believe me, it bothers him.
Yeah.
I think writers are holding it against him, like saying, well, we're not putting 3-backers in from the senior team. You know, got Lawrence and you got Harry. So, but he might make it in the senior down the road, but, you know, these things happen, right? With the Hall of Fame votes. Yeah. We know
and let's be honest. If your partner plays one more year and wins a Super Bowl, he's probably getting in.
Oh, I agree. I think sometimes winning that championship puts you over the top. So it is what it is. But especially with football more than baseball, it really feels like they make you wait. They make you like really sweat this thing out for a long period of time. And it sucks because who knows when that's going to occur? You know, you have no idea.
Folks, we're on with Evan Roberts from WFAN, Evan and Tiki, 10 to 2 in the afternoon. Does a great job, man, for a lot of years. Hey, Evan, a little non-sports question. I was always intrigued by this when you talk about this. What made you get into the president's? Yeah. I know you love to visit the president's houses. What made you get into that? What age did you start being intrigued by that?
So there were two current events that got me into like politics. Mm-hmm. And then from politics, it's like, I need to know about the presidents. You had the Clinton impeachment, and then you had the 2000 election. But the 2000 election really put me over the top because I didn't go to school the next day. I was like, I am watching every second of what the hell is going on. This is crazy. And so what happened is I got interested in the current events of our time. And then I needed to know the history of it. It's like the way I am at sports. I need to know everything about it. And like that got me into, okay, I know that this Bush-Gore election is crazy, but what about the election of 1876? Like that was nuts. And it was. I'm not going to bore you with it, but it was crazy. It also it set the country back 80 years, but I don't want to get into that. So it just got me interested in all of it. And then I loved visiting. I have the joke as I visited the boyhood homes of presidents. Presidential libraries I love to go to.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting. I love the history of our country. And I love the history of that job. It's fascinating, especially going back to Washington and how, he was like, I'm not going to become the king. He could have. He could have said, I'm going to become the king. He said
He
no.
didn't want it.
He could have remained in power. He said no. Which is why every time someone says, who's the best of all time? It's like, look, I know it's cliched. I'm sorry, but it is George Washington and Abe Lincoln. I know you want a different answer, but they're the best. And, so I just love it. I can't get enough of it to this day. I love reading it, YouTube videos. I can't get enough.
It's like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig on the Yankees Mount Rushmore. They're always the top two, right?
I know. It's boring as hell. But I always give everyone an underrated one, and that's James Garfield. And now everybody knows about it because that freaking documentary movie that came out.
Yeah,
he was my secret president. Now everybody knows all about him. I don't feel special anymore.
Which president could write with both hands different languages? Do you know that? Presidential.
That's a good question. Hold on. I didn't even think about
this. Good question, Foley. I think you got him.
Both hands.
Yeah.
Both hands.
My guess would be Thomas Jefferson. That would be the one I would lean towards because he was so brilliant. No?
Later on.
Who do you got?
I thought you would know. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, no. I don't know everything.
I'm pretty sure it's Calvin Coolidge. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, Cool Cal. Hey, Cool Cal.
I can't believe you did. I figured you would know that.
Nah. I mean, listen. I love it. I read a lot about it. I am not going to pretend like I know everything. I mean, I certainly don't. There's plenty I don't know. Like the big one that's going around lately is the quarterback president question who went to the same universities, right?
No, I'm sorry. It was your boy. Garfield. Garfield could do it.
Oh, Garfield did that?
Yeah, there you go. There it is.
Oh, that's even more depressing. I didn't know that. I've read like 15 books on my guy. My grandfather was named Garfield. True story. After James Garfield.
He could write in Latin with one hand and Greek with the other.
That's impressive.
There you go.
Look at that, Evan.
Insider.
You left the Giant Insider podcast with even more knowledge.
I did. You told me about my guy. I love it.
I asked you a trivia question. I didn't know the answer, but I had to look at. I knew it was somebody. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. So,
Evan, my man. I'm glad you mentioned the 2011 election. Giants won the Super Bowl that year, buddy. Just to remind you.
Yeah. What? What'd you just say?
I said I'm glad you mentioned the 2011 election. The Giants won the Super Bowl.
There was no 2011 election. It was 2012 and 2008. What are you talking about? 2011 election? Is that just your way of bringing up the Giants and that Super Bowl? Good for you.
I tried to slip it in there, Evan.
It was 2012 the election took place, which I guess was the Super Bowl. So it was a few months later. It
was. Right. Exactly.
You're right. My bad.
Good stuff. All right, so you've given us a lot of time, man. I'll ask you this. We'll ask you some Jets history here. Look.
What history?
Well, I mean,
don't be insulting. We have a history.
I'm not.
It's just not a good one, but we have a history.
Not at all. So, you've gone through some lean years, right? And so have we recently. Look, the Giants have been bad for 10, 12 years now. But what era of Jets football do you look back and say, at least that was fun for a while, or is there a best moment?
Rex Ryan era was my favorite era of Jets football. It was just the 2009 season was so storybook. When you look at they lose to Atlanta, Rex says we're done, we're out of the playoffs. Oh wait, we're not out of the playoffs. We actually are still alive. Followed by the Curtis Painter dream game where Peyton Manning gets pulled undefeated. Painter comes in, we win the game, and then take care of business. Beat the Bengals, closing down Giants Stadium. Let me repeat, we closed down Giants Stadium by making the playoffs and beating the Bengals on one of the coldest games you'll ever see. And then to go to Cincy and beat them, to go to San Diego and beat the Chargers, who was so good back then. And I really thought getting the game against Indy, the team that brought us into the world, we were going to take them out. And unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. But then to follow it up the next season by beating the Patriots in Foxborough in the postseason after we had gotten embarrassed weeks earlier. I thought those 2 years, I know it didn't end well for us, but hey, getting to a championship game is my Super Bowl. That's as far as we go. I thought it was the best era of Jet football. I know he got a lot of crap from people. He was arrogant. He was this, he was that. He covered up the giant signs, and it ended badly for him. No doubt. It was time to move on when it was over, but I'll always appreciate the Rex era. It was a lot of fun.
Hey, Evan, I got to ask you something about the 2011. This was my take on it. When they beat the Patriots in the playoffs, to me, it seemed like obviously Rex hated the whole Belichick. I don't kiss his rings, all that stuff. Man, it seemed like that was their Super Bowl where they came out the following week in Pittsburgh, that first half flat.
Yeah.
Which should never happen, obviously, in a playoff game, right, Evan? I'm curious because, you're a big-time Jets fan. You were there and all that. Am I wrong in that assessment that it seemed like they came out
No.
and that
You're not wrong. In fact, here's how not wrong you were. So they win that game against the Patriots. Beningo and I are ecstatic. And I said it to him on that Monday. I said, can I tell you what worries me? And he said, what would worry you, bro? What would worry you? I said, I think we won our Super Bowl. And I'm worried that even though it's the Steelers and it's the AFC Championship and it's Heinz Field at the time, I'm a little worried there's going to be a letdown. And we talked about it a lot that week where he was like, no, don't worry about that. Come on, it's the AFC title game. And there's no question that's the way they played in the first half. Now, to their credit, they fought back. If they made one more defensive play on that 3rd and 4 when Ben Roethlisberger found a rookie Antonio Brown, I was convinced if we got the ball back, Sanchez was leading us down the field, we were getting to the Super Bowl. I'll always be convinced.
You totally outplayed him. You totally outplayed him in the second half.
1,000%. And so, I agreed with it. I thought it at the time. And I think that there was a little bit of we won our Super Bowl nature to what happened the prior week. It was still, though, pound for pound, one of the greatest victories of my sports fandom.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's as good as it gets. It just sucks they couldn't follow it up because it does take a little bit away from it,
Evan, it sucks too because in '98 you had the Broncos too, man. You had them at halftime. You had. I mean, the
was it 10-0 or something that score?
Yeah, it was like 10-3 or 10-0.
And they would have beaten Atlanta. I mean, they were going to win. They were going to win a championship, no
Evan,
question.
That was the Super Bowl game, Evan. They were going to beat Atlanta. You know what I mean? I mean, Atlanta was going to get beat by Denver or the Jets, and that's Super Bowl, no question about. Like I got to be honest with you, Evan. This year, I felt the Seattle Rams game that's going to be the winner of the Super Bowl. I don't think. Yeah. I think they're going to whip up New England. I really do. In 2 weeks.
I think you're probably right, but you never know. I mean, the Patriots have a thing for the big Super Bowl upset, as we saw against the Rams all those years ago. But it does feel that way. It did feel that way. Look, to cross sported, I felt that way about the Mets in 06. Like if they beat the Cardinals that day, they were gonna smoke the Tigers in the World Series. They were gonna win the World Series. There's never a way to prove that, obviously. But letdowns happen. I thought the Yankees had a letdown after they beat the Red Sox in 03 on the Aaron Boone home run.
Against the Marlins. Oh, absolutely.
No, they get to the World Series, and it was like, we already won our World Series. That's why when you guys beat the Cardinals the following year, I was skeptical you were going to win that series because I'm like, they just came back from 3-0 down on the Yankees. Yeah. Now they got to go play a World Series against a very good Cardinal team. Yeah. I figured the Red Sox, they're not breaking the curse here. They're going to lose the World Series. But to their credit, man, didn't do it. Swept them.
Evan, you know what's funny about that, Bud? Is that obviously, they come back from 3-0 and all that stuff. And even when they were up like 11-3 in Game 7, I'm still sitting there going, we're going to blow this game. We're going to blow this game.
I get you.
That was the mentality of the Sox fan back then, with me. I mean, but you know what's funny, Evan? I remember saying to myself, the Cardinals got no chance. The Sox are going to smoke them in this series. And it's funny because when I lived on Staten Island, I was friends with Jason Marquez. Marquez is a Staten Island guy.
Oh, yeah.
And his kid, we were coaching with each other, against each other, because he has a little boy that was coming up at the time playing baseball. And I talked to Jason, started Game 4 against the Sox, and I was talking about it. I said, Jason, let me ask you something. I said, how did you guys feel? The Sox coming off that win. Did you think they would be flat? He goes, nah, they were on such a roll.
Yeah.
We knew we had a hard time. We had a feeling we were underdogs. We knew it was going to be a hard series. Now, nobody really thought 4 straight. But the Sox just hit that roll, Evan. That even I felt, Evan, that they were going to go in and smoke the Cardinals that year.
I guess it proves that even when you think there'll be a letdown, sometimes there isn't. Those are just the examples where it happened. But in the case of the Sox, man, they were on a roll because 4 straight, boom.
Well, Evan, listen, good luck to your Mets this year. Obviously, they made a lot of moves the last few weeks. And it'd be interesting. Bo Bichette playing first time. He's playing third. Polanco is not a first baseman. You got him playing over there. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, look, I thought the Peralta move was great. I was hoping the Sox would kind of pull that off. But they did bring in Ranger Suarez instead. But we'll see. It should be a good baseball year for both teams. The Sox are a better team. I'm telling you that right now, Evan. Don't argue with me on this. The Sox are a better team. Okay? You're not going to argue with me.
Third place. Actually, 4th place in the American League East. You'll finish behind Baltimore, Toronto, and the Yankees.
You're losing your mind. Okay? But, well, Evan, listen, my man. Hey, it was great to finally get you on, brother. I hope to do it again, man. It was a
Well,
lot of
thank
great
you for
stuff.
having me on. I appreciate it. I'm so happy that you guys are so happy about your football team. Maybe someday I'll get there.
Listen, man,
We'll see.
I am not a Mets hater. I'm rooting for the Mets for people like you, Evan. I'm not kidding. I have a brother-in-law who's a huge Mets fan. I'm a Yankee fan, but baseball is so far down my list. It's it's Giants, Rangers, then the Yankees.
I get you.
I hope the Mets do it, man, for you guys.
I appreciate it.
By
By the way,
have some joy.
I sound like a charity case when you say that.
No,
You
no,
know?
it's not at all.
I'm
It's not at
rooting
all,
for
man.
you.
No, it's
You
not at all.
loser. I hope you get some joy in your life as a
Evan,
sports
Evan,
fan.
just to let you know, Evan, I'm not rooting for you. I still despise the Mets after that miracle 86 win. Okay, so
go.
I'm not
Nice.
rooting for you.
All right, well, I'm not
always
rooting.
despise that team. Because
I'm not
lucky
rooting
win.
for you either. I used to like the Red Sox in terms of beating the Yankees because I used to be a Yankee hater, no question. It all changed in 04. Once you took care of it, it was like, thank you. You did your service, and now I've moved on. So hopefully Pete Alonso goes out, wins a home run title, and the O's take the AL East. Let's go, O's.
Thank you, Evan, brother. We'll talk soon.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Great time,
Thanks,
Evan.
man.
Thank you, man.
No
Talk soon.
problem. See you later.
Buddy. Take care. All right, so good.
That was
time,
awesome.
Good funny time with Evan Roberts. You could talk everything with him. So
Yeah, his podcast was all over the place. It was a blast, to be honest with you, dude. Another super
a little
chat.
something different, folks.
No, it's fun, man.
Had some fun. Off-season
Evan in
talk.
67. This guy met Namath at Jets training camp. Pop Warner coach, Children's Village, got to go on the field. Good stuff, man. Thank you for that, Joseph. Appreciate that.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for the contributions tonight.
Yeah, man.
If me and Jerry didn't get to you, I'm sorry. But thank you for everything, man. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We'll talk next week.
Yeah. Hang in there, guys. Good stuff. Sundays are Giant days. Take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody.